shot of espresso. We need a runner. There's so many players not playing. Why don't we just get some of those? Wait, Dragon Thrust is volunteered to be Bienvenidos a San Diego. Here we are for the 2019 National Championships. We're back for the 5th place semi play-in game for two storied ultimate programs. That is Minneapolis Sub-Zero facing off against San Francisco Revolver. This Revolver team has won a number of times. Sub-Zero dates back to the early 2000s. I remember when they first appeared on the scene in Sarasota. Emma, you know Sub-Zero well. You scout out a little bit of Revolver. I don't know, what do we got in store for this game?
Well, it's been a long day, and you know, the sun is starting to get lower in the sky, but a lot of cramps so far today reported, and a lot of kind of exhaustion rather. Sub-Zero, of course, had the last round off after a loss to Seattle Sockeye, a game that sounds like it didn't quite go their way. A lot of maybe close windows and hotly contested moments that Sockeye was able to come down with or convert on. A little bit of disappointment in the ranks for Sub-Zero, but they've had some time to process and are, you know, feeling pretty good about this matchup and feeling like they have their legs under them again. Revolver, of course, just lost to Machine over on Field 7 in a game that came down to one break, really. There was some back and forth during the second half, but the story of that game was really that, you know, Revolver came out a little bit flat. They were down in the early part of the game by, you know, 4, I think, for a time, and then they had to really put a run together and change their outset, and I loved a lot of things that they said to their D-line in particular in that game, but they were able to bring it back into a close game. Unfortunately, by then it was too late.
Aaron, were you at that game, or were you at some of the other elimination games?
I started that round over by the women's quarterfinals game and kind of worked my way back to watch the kind of middle chunk of that Machine Revolver game.
Okay.
So I did get to see a fair amount of the Revolver comeback run, but you know, it was still about a 3-point game with game point on the line.
Wow.
So Revolver did have a little bit of, you know, extra give at the end of that game to not go down easy.
Revolver, of course, in a rebuilding year after the core of their team and some of their legendary coach have moved on. But Malika Anderson, the longtime trainer for this Revolver squad, takes over the coaching duties, has done an excellent, superb job to keep this team really losing. I want to say, like, at one time I tried to count the number of championships and world championships that they had lost in the last 2 years, and it was over 20.
That's a lot.
It was over 30.
Yeah. The only other personnel note that is probably worth talking a little bit about is that Revolver's own Nick Stewart, of course, a name that we're all pretty familiar with, has pulled a hamstring and has put on his sandals and is not going to cleat up for this game. And on the Sub-Zero side, Josh Klain separated his shoulder yesterday in the game against Pony. It was an unfortunate collision moment, and he will also not be playing in this game. Certainly adjustments will be had to make for both of those.
Well, Nick Stewart, of course, a longtime player for Sub-Zero, as we see Marcelo Sanchez reel in that Jordan Marcy huck and move it up in for a goal. Looks like to Eli Friedman. It might not be Eli Friedman. Eli Friedman might have left the team already. So we'll have to wait to see the numbers. The white's a little bit challenging from this distance.
Yeah, these this font for numbers with the blank in the middle doesn't leave a lot of margin for error, and with the sun at the angle that it is, we may struggle a bit. So we'll do our best.
Looks cool in the coffee shop.
It does, of course, and then you have Sub-Zero in the orange, so the observers had to change over to the green.
Yeah.
You know, Sub-Zero has a little bit of a
quirky history.
Yeah, quirky or funky kind of edge to their culture and personality. There was a year that they wore football pants as their bottoms as a part of a jersey.
That was one of his favorite moments in all of this history of Ultimate when asked that. Like this summer when I was with him at one point, like genuinely.
Yeah, I mean Sub-Zero is, I think, the longest running brand in the Minneapolis Ultimate community, and they've had a lot of time to kind of riff on their, logo and their look. Sometimes they go for pretty basic, but funk it up with one of these colors, and other times we see more of a throwback look, or the snowman.
The snowman, of course, the dual Sub-Zero snowman. That goes back to that 2001-2002 team. They had that logo for quite some time, so that's stood the test of time. This pull will come back, offsides call.
So when you were talking about the Revolver history, I know this is the 40th year of this Nationals event that was first held in 1979. How far, so 20 is a large number, but how far back into the history of this event are we talking about Revolver's success?
They in 2009 they were in the finals, might have been 2008, and they lost. They ran Bo Kittredge and Mac Taylor basically on every line and learned a lesson in that one. They kind of got smoked in that game. I believe they might have lost like 15-9. And the next year they won, 2010, went to Worlds and won, and that kind of started it. So they kind of ended up winning like 2 or 3 in a row, and then every other year. So the goal was to get to 6 national championship titles to match the New York team and the Boston Death or Glory team, and they were unable to eclipse that mark of 6.
That's a clever word choice, eclipse.
Because now I can't remember if they got to 6 or not. They didn't get to 7. That's what
I'm also looking at, I guess it's the phases of the moon, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. It could look like an eclipse too, so that's why I thought it was clever.
Clever is as clever does. So some of these Sub-Zero players, this is a high one going up for, I believe, vote. Or Becky Lee Donnie is going to correct us again. Is it Nick Vaught or Nick Vote?
I'm pretty sure it's Vote.
Yes. I'm going to go with that.
That's one of the names that I struggle with. I get in my own head about it, but I'm sure we'll get corrected if we're wrong here.
Becky, I've got my phone out.
Yeah, to me, it felt like there was a little bit of contact.
My phone is dead. No one
play.
can get a hold of me.
And then you had position, and I came through and cleanly did it.
Okay.
So I would say it was incidental contact before the actual play.
Foul contest.
So I'm going to contest. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
I'm going to go to green here.
Okay.
Okay. It was a foul.
Okay.
Okay. Didn't have possession. You're going to get here. We're going to ground check. Everybody can move on the ground check. He's going to take it up at the cone.
Stay where you are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, can't move till he ground checks.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Greg Cousins with a little bit of a dance in the back of the end zone.
Nick Vogt will walk it back to the line here. Drop it back down. And that's an easy score to the big side for Simonelli, the captain of this team, from Jason Sheeta. And that's a hold here. Last year we ended up calling this same Sub-Zero team in this game against Truck Stop.
Sub-Zero's O-line, I know over the course of the season, has kind of had its highs and lows. For a while there, they looked really sharp and like they were one of the top O-lines in the division. I remember seeing some press about that and some articles out online. And then, of course, they had A couple hiccups in that plan as they, kind of flamed out against. I think they had a rough game against Ring of Fire where they got broken more times in that kind of game than they had before. Over the weekend, of course, we've seen them. They're very disciplined, as Nick Stewart said before the game. Revolver recognizes that they have a lot of kind of immediate flow, and they're used to being able to find the immediate next look. So we should be looking here for Revolver's defense to try to kind of push them to use their secondary options and hopefully even their tertiary options throughout the game in order to interrupt that flow. But first we'll get a look at what Sub-Zero coach Tallis Boyd describes as his very deep D-line. So he's excited about this a lot this game.
Okay. Deep as in the amount of players that they use on the D-line?
Yes, he's excited about the strength and kind of how many iterations that this D-line can go out there and make plays against these players.
The system for San Francisco Revolver is legendary. Some of the players still out here with many titles to their belt over here on the sideline near us. Cassidy Rasmussen is one of those. The man with the disc there, number 24, Eli Kearns, another. Kearns will get it back here and sling it quietly over to Marcelo Sanchez. He'll rip it deep. He's got Simon Higgins. Higgins has a step and a step in the air to rise up and get that one for the goal.
We will probably see Sub-Zero in a little bit of a sponge diamond set on their defense. They really only run it for a few throws, but you can see here a couple of the handler defenders in lanes just for a bit, right? It's designed to take away a set play.
Okay.
But it does transform and dissolve back into person defense. And I think Revolver there kind of were able to swing it around that kind of poachy handler look and get those yards, but had already kind of moved into those one-on-one match defensive sets before that huck went off. So interesting to see if maybe they change that look and run it for more throws, or understanding that Revolver is maybe more versatile and can run a set play off the second pass instead of just the first one.
Gotcha.
But early days yet, early days.
Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about this as we see Ashlyn Joy there? That's a recognizable figure. His broad shoulders and the number on his jersey, of course. Joy, the center handler for this team and regarded as one of the elite, one of the best throwers in the history of the game, some have said. Pulling now on the D-line. Yeah, if you want to tweet at us, there we are. Leo Basque, that is I. Maroka. E is Aaron next to me. And of course, Emmy Fitzgerald at Emmy Fitz. Tell us some trivia stuff for Revolver and or Sub-Zero. Or I was going to ask about this fifth place semi play again and what it means. But let's get back to the action on the field here as Sub-Zero has to face a tricky Revolver zone. Explains why Joy was out there pulling. Cousins will survey, drop it back down to Sheeta. And now to Roy. And that's picked up nicely by Osgar. Cousins to Simonelli. Making sure his feet are down. Now they've crumbled into a man defense, has Revolver. Simonelli slings it out there to reset into the center space. Sheeta busting around to get open, doing a lot of work here. Up to Cousins. Cousins will send this one. Simonelli's got yards, and he'll get it.
A lot of patience there from Sub-Zero, as I think Revolver takes a kind of an initial stab at making them look at their secondary options, right? So we had to see Sub-Zero swing it a bit more, and as you mentioned, Jason Cheetah kind of holding down the fort in the middle of the field and changing the direction, or certainly the position of the disc around. But, you know, they ended up attacking through the middle. Greg Cousins got open kind of at the front of the stack and was able to release that to Nick Simonelli. But But that connection, Cousins to Simonelli, is something that we will probably see quite a bit this game. And certainly with Josh Klain out, you're going to see Cheetah and Tony Paletto and some of these other handler gentlemen rotating in a little bit more and doing a little bit more distance work, which is, I think, what Josh is known for on this team, that power thrower.
On the Revolver side, again, as we've mentioned, pretty new roster. A lot of new names we haven't seen a lot of. Going down the list here, Caleb Merriman is not a recognizable name to me. But still, you got to say that they still got a lot of pretty good players on here. Byron Liu, Tom Doy have been around for a while. Adam Reese coming, I believe, from Portland. Eli Kearns, Nick Stewart, Antoine Davis, the big receiver. Marcelo Sanchez, the defender, seeing a lot on Sawyer Thompson is a big body. Julian Childs Walker played with Chicago Machine for a long time. Up to the big Simon Higgins. First made his mark playing in the mixed division for Polar Bears when they won a national championship in Sarasota in the late 2000s. And of course with the Happy Cows, that YCC team out of San Francisco area. So Higgins been at the game for a while.
Yeah, that Happy Cows
Yeah, it was
YCC
in the
team
air
has
to
had a
here,
lot of
so one.
success. Several wins, I think, at the end
When you're
of
ready.
the aughts. Right, 2010 maybe?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Antoine Davis trying to get open, and now so is Kearns. Kearns will get open. Higgins looking to give and go with Eli Kearns, cannot. Now looking for a reset, and there's nothing open. Great defense from Sub-Zero here. Forces that turn and maybe even a stall. I mean, I didn't see a foul. I can't imagine what else this call could be. They'll let it go to the turn. Great defense there, Aaron.
Thanks.
Well, you were coach of this team at one point, right?
No, not this team.
We're live. Thank you.
I have coached a number of the players on this roster. Many of them attended Hopkins High School, where I was coach for a while. I did coach some YCC in Minnesota as well.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with a lot of these players in several respects.
Colin Berry with the disc now, but it's an errant throw from him behind the intended receiver. And now Eli Kearns will pick it up for Revolver. Kearns has the deep throws. Looking Antoine Davis trying to get open underneath, does not. So it's dropped back down to Jordan Marcy. Uh-oh. Higgins is loose. Picked up, fortunately, by the defender, Andrew Meshnick.
Sub-Zero looks like they're doing some calculated switches in the backfield and in the mark, in the handler set, too.
Well, it's kind of working. That's Antoine Davis's first touch. He moves it upfield. Back to Marcy. Again, stout defense from Sub-Zero here, trying to get another opportunity at a break, unable to convert the first chance. Now they're a little slack as the defense has kind of fallen apart. Maybe a call?
I think that someone thought that there was a stoppage. That's an unfortunate moment of miscommunication, obviously. Yeah, that looked good. They were confused.
So in this same scenario last year in this game, it really took until kind of like the mid of the first half before the teams really started to kind of dial it in a little bit, and then really into the second half when it was like, all right, we're playing for the pro flight bid. You know, if the team wants to stay together and move on as a unit next year for 2020, they're going to want to play at some of the higher level tournaments. This game can go a long way towards that. Win this one, you're into the 5-6 bracket and into the next level of competition. Kind of like how you see in European soccer leagues where teams can move up and down in their respective divisions.
Yeah, both of these teams also, I'm sure, in their kind of tight but elimination games, had to kind of batten down the hatches, so to speak, in their line calling and personnel decisions. And so there are a number of players probably on both of these teams that maybe didn't get a lot of reps in the last round that they played. And so certainly an opportunity for some of these players to get out any of that bad energy that they have from the losses that both of these teams took. They still get to play Ultimate today. The weather's beautiful. You know, the San Diego organization dude has put on a wonderful tournament. These fields are pretty good. There's some traction issues on this one that I'm not sure the origination of, but you know, largely a good experience. And anytime you can play Ultimate, you can get better at it. And obviously, if you enjoy the team that you're on and the people that you could play with, those are good opportunities and moments as well. So.
Huck up here, going up. Could be defended, but no, it's caught sky there by Charles Weinberg.
I like Charles.
Yeah.
He's good.
Like pretty comfortable out there, going up against the bigger defender.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these guys on Sub-Zero played Grey Duck together at the University of Minnesota, with, you know, a few exceptions, but both Charles Weinberg and Charlie McCutcheon came in as graduate students and only did 1 year at the Grey Duck program, while some of the other players like, you know, Cheetah and Oscar and Klain all did their entire undergrad at Grey Duck and at the U. So a lot of existing chemistry and kind of multiple eras of Grey Duck. Jurek, whose nickname is Beef, who is number 13 on the field, who notably got a layout D at US Open 2018 against George Stubbs, and the internet called him a hero, right?
Well,
he
then
also,
he's a hero.
Yes, he is.
The internet has proclaimed it so.
Right, I think he's either still like a senior, maybe, at Grey Duck at the U, or yeah, he's
Cole Jurek, really?
Yeah, he's young, and he
Okay.
was a U24.
Yeah, he was in Heidelberg.
He and Vogt were on the U24 team as well. So
Gosh, I've seen all those guys and girls out here this weekend, which is awesome.
it's fun to see them play in a different setting, certainly. And I think they bring a lot of value back to their team from that experience, right? It's what a powerful experience to represent your country and to get reps with other people from different areas and with different styles. I think they learn a lot and they take a lot from it.
That was a gorgeous pull.
It was probably Thomas Eccles. He's a very good puller.
Sanchez to Rasmussen. Tight one, but it's caught by Adam Reese over there on the sideline. Throw had come from Justin Lim. And back to Lim. Cannot get to it. Another break opportunity for Minneapolis.
That felt like a bit of a bailout look, and you know, interesting because a lot of times when you hit a high stall situation, you try to huck or get some field position, but that was a cross field kind of to nobody or everybody, depending on what he saw out of the corner of his eye.
It looked like Lim was there and just his feet were planted in a different direction, so he wasn't necessarily expecting that throw. So he was coming from a standstill, so he wasn't cutting. So, and it wasn't a zone, so maybe not expecting the throw.
Connor Anderson here, number 33, also did some time on Grey Duck.
Yes, but as to the result of the catch, if the play was affected, then it goes back. If it wasn't affected, it stays with you. So that's what this discussion is about.
Bagish laying it down. Thank you, Alan.
Okay? The ruling is if the play was affected, then it goes back. If it wasn't affected, if the catch still remains, then it stays.
Yeah. I think we should send it back.
Are we okay with that? You want to come to me? Okay.
We're going back.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
That was fun.
Well, couldn't have been more clear than that, but the players yet could not decide if it affected the play. So that's fair too, because sometimes you just don't even know if it affected the play.
You know,
it came out of the stack.
Yeah, well, you know, while I was wandering around, I was able to talk with my friend Laura Meyer, who was the Observer of the Year a couple years ago, and I learned that observers get bye rounds too. That hadn't really occurred to me.
We don't get a bye round.
Right.
So when you say two, you mean?
I mean,
like
along with teams,
everyone
right?
else
the
except
teams
for
get
us.
a bye round.
Oh,
Ooh!
what a Cassidy Rasmussen does what he does best, to stay sneaky and paw that disc away. Justin Lim in the reset position.
That's a good matchup that people will maybe want to keep track of because Kevin Pettit-Scanling is over there on that match. Part of the Madison.
Davis puts it up high, and that's going to be collected for a goal. I believe that's, sorry, I think Antoine Davis caught that one. Or it was Tom Doy, sorry, the 23-93. It had to have been Antoine that threw it and Tom Doy that caught it.
Some of those numbers hard to see in that sun over there. Well, an unfortunate break. Well, I mean that in terms of like a happenstance, right? Unfortunate little moment there and miscue from Sub-Zero, but still a close game here. Revolver up 4-3 on Sub-Zero, and we'll get another look at this Sub-Zero O-line.
Should we do a trivia question for today?
Sure. What kind?
I don't know. Something about the 40 years of nationals.
Well, then it has to come from your brain, Tony, because you wrote the book.
Well, you can make one up. You can make one of the last couple of years.
Huh?
You could come up with a trivia that doesn't have to go all the way back 40 years.
Oh. All right, we will ponder.
All right.
We'll ponder.
We'll ponder. If anyone's listening, you can chime in at us. I think.
You can chime in at Tony and Emmy.
Here's one. I don't know.
My phone is dead.
Okay.
I love you all, but I cannot.
Where was the first national championship? The UPA national championship. That was the Ultimate Players Association. That is what a name change from USA Ultimate. That's what they were previously called. We see Simon Ellie move it up to Osgar. Where was the first national championship credited to the UPA held in 1979? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I hope you know the answer because I do not.
That's a nice around break throw from Sub-Zero. Weinberg to Osgar, the noted scorer, as that's a hold, nice and easy for Minneapolis. 1979 Nationals. You know what? I'll have to look it up myself.
You did this to yourself, Tony. That's amazing.
Well, 40 years. That's kind of one of the storylines of this tournament.
It is for sure, and that's that's a great anniversary to have, right? Was it last year that it was the 50th anniversary of the sport of Ultimate, Tony?
Last year was the 50th anniversary of the sport. That is correct. Now, the sport has some origins before that, where some guys were throwing around a game that was kind of like Frisbee football without the tackling. So pretty much what the sport is at Amherst College in the mid-60s.
Okay.
And then when it was taught to some young high school students at Northfield Mount Herman Summer School in 1968, the summer of '68, that's where the name Ultimate was coined by Jared Cass to say, hey, come play the ultimate Frisbee game. Because there's a lot of different Frisbee games being played. Frisbee was quite a popular fad at the time. And then from there, it was taken to Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey in 1968, and the first game of Ultimate that really took it by storm was in the spring of '69. Do we have anyone that's chimed in?
We'll have to see if some people might need to think about the location of that Nationals.
If you were there,
oh goodness,
please chime in.
That'd be great. I also know, where did you put that pie tin?
I had the pie tin, I believe, in my bag here.
Okay.
Tom Doy. We're going to go to Emmy Fitzgerald after this point here. Simon Higgins centers it to Kearns. You can tweet at me at Leo Basque if you can tell me where 1979 Nationals was held. Bonus points if you know who won. Back to Kearns. That's Hunter Corbett with the disc. And to Kearns, I recognize that style by him. So we'll wait a little bit for that trivia. And I think we've got Emmy Fitzgerald, if we can find. There she is. we can frame her up. Can she hear us? Can you hear us, Emmy? She can hear us. We're going to frame up Emmy. She's got some trivia for us about Revolver. Emmy, you're on.
Yes, so if you look on the back of Revolver's jerseys, you might see an avocado. There's also an avocado in the program. So I asked, well, what's the deal with that? We know the moons, we don't know about the avocados. So apparently somebody brought a bunch of avocados to practice. They started thinking and they said, you know, avocados ripen as they go.
Okay.
They get better over time. So that's what we want our season to be. We want to get better as we go, ripen over time. They're a young team, keep growing that way. So kind of a cool cultural moment that they wear on the back of their shirts.
Interesting reference.
I like that. I'm looking at it now, so I kind of get it. You know, but I mean, so there's so many jokes abound here. Where to go? Like it ripens to a point, like in like 3 or 4 days, and then it's like a rod. Don't take it too far. Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
There's a meme. There's a meme that is joking that an avocado is only ripe for like 2 minutes when you like aren't expecting to use it.
It is tasty though.
Anyway, that's a pretty funny reference, but you know, inside jokes are part of a team culture, and even if they don't necessarily make sense to us, if they fire up your squad and if they keep you together in hard moments, then they're worth it, no matter how, you know, weird
They probably
they
actually
are.
ripen over like months, but we just only see them in the supermarket when they're like just about to turn.
All right, I'm calling it on the avocado.
Uh-oh, popped up high.
Ooh.
And it's still intercepted by, the big hammer from Ashlyn Joy. Why not? But it's Deed. Nice D there from Nick Vogt. Don't want to challenge him in the air. But Sawyer Thompson, a big target, so I can see the temptation from Ashlyn Joy. Sub-Zero has another chance here with Vogt with the disc up to Captain Simon Nelly.
Do you know who
To Osgar.
This is up to Greg Cousins over the top for that hold for Sub-Zero. I think we're tied up at 5, Tony.
Is that an Osgar throw?
Yeah.
Yep. I missed it. I was looking down away for a second. That's what he does best.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say it's okay that you missed it because we're gonna see it again in like real life, because he'll probably throw to Greg Cousins a couple more times on that O-line in the rest of this game.
Yep.
I was noting that Tony Paletto, who was out on that O-line and threw kind of that initial break throw to get movement going, was absent last year at Nationals because of a knee injury that he had at US Open. Glad to see that he's here this year. He certainly makes an impact in that handler set, has a lot of kind of clever throws and whatnot, but we'll maybe get an ear into this Sub-Zero huddle and see what they think is going on right now.
Well, I might not be able to hear, but Aaron, if you're in that huddle, you know this team. What could they be talking about now in this timeout?
You know, I think Tallis is a good, and Nick they're all about kind of the discipline of the team.
Okay.
Right? The O-line is about doing what they do best, which is running that vert stack. There's a lot of reps that they go through to kind of plan for every eventuality in that vert stack. So if they can continue to settle into a groove, they should be able to hold pretty consistently. I bet right now it's more about turning up the energy on D. They know they have the ability to play really close with their defense. They take a lot of pride in the effort and kind of the grind of that person defense. Look, they're right on everybody's hip. They make a lot of plays. I think right now they're still maybe in a little bit of a negative headspace, and they need to amp up the energy and pick it up a little bit, because then we're going to see some fireworks if they are able to do that.
Now, let's see if you're right. Emmy, did you listen into that huddle at all?
Oh,
She can't
no,
hear
it
us
was a
now.
test,
Yeah,
Tony.
Well, Emmy pointed up at me and said that she got a little something out of that huddle. You see her on the sidelines over here. I won't come back on that, Aaron, but that's... Yeah, let's see if they do get fired up here. I do recall in that 5th place semi-play-in game last year where they started to turn on the Jets. So did Truck Stop right around this point. Let's see what the energy levels look like here. Justin Lim up to Eli Kearns. Sideline certainly getting jazzed. Big hug from Kearns. He's got his man downfield. 2 defenders are in the air, but it's skied and received. Revolver will hold on to possession and score the point. I believe that's Ian Sweeney down there. Let me take a look. No, sorry about that. That is Hunter Corbett goes up high for it.
All right, I'm going to go coach mode a little bit. On D, you got to go up a little early, right?
Yep.
You can't wait for the read. You know that's what offense is going to do. They're going to go try to get it at their highest point, but at the highest point of the disc. If you don't have the best position and the best read, it's better to err on the side of going up early because you might interrupt what that offensive player had been planning to do, and you might kind of either make them go up wrong, right, and then the disc would sail over harmlessly and not hit anybody, or you actually get like a finger on it and make it impossible to catch. So would have liked to see those 2 Sub-Zero defenders go up just a little bit earlier, maybe a second and a half.
Yeah, Kotz never quite got his feet planted to get up at all as the trailing defender there had a chance. I think if he gotten his big body up, I can speak to that myself as a tall man. Just don't quite have that. You know, you gotta keep your running, and you gotta kind of keep your eye on the disc, and you gotta time your jump right. And it's it takes you know, some athletic skill and body awareness to do that. But if your head's there and you're thinking about it, just remember what Aaron just said, which is go ahead, get up early if you can.
Well, and I think Couts knows that. He got a D on Ben Yacht in the pony game, so he's not. Ooh,
oh, tipped away again by the defender there for Revolver.
Kind of an uncharacteristic doink there from Greg Cousins.
Yeah, he had it. And
He
he
definitely
would have had
had
it
it.
on the second one if it wasn't knocked away by Revolver.
Yeah.
Break opportunity now for Revolver. So you get a D. Kotz got a D on Ben Yacht, huh?
Yeah, Couts. Couts played college with Ben Yacht a little bit. I'm not going to say that it was like a perfect throw and that like Couts got up and skied the crap out of Yacht or anything like that. But he was there and well positioned, and he did go up early on that one and was able to defend the throw that was a little bit blady and coming back. It was a big deal in that front end of that pony game because Sub-Zero went up 2-0 on them for a bit and had some momentum.
Gotcha. Joy gets this downfield to Byron Liu. Byron Liu will put it up. A little bit of a hanger, and it's D'd up by Jason Cheetah.
Cheetah jumps high.
Sure does. Timed that one well over Mark Lynn.
Yeah, Jason Cheetah is really underrated. He's very good. He played Worlds with the New Zealand team not that long ago in Cincinnati. Had a stellar career with Grey Duck, and you know, played YCC for me. So glad to see him out there showing other people what he can do.
Yeah, he's a great player. He can vote now with the disc. Yeah, you see a lot of Cheetah. I feel like we call his name out often for good reason. Osgar now. Chance to hold. He'll do his signature Blady one. Is it too far? No, Simon Nelly tracks that one down nicely with the big left and the spike for a hold.
Trying to get his team amped, looking for some energy out of the D-line. Want to make sure that they figure out a way. Right now we're just kind of in a rhythm and trading, right? And one of these teams is going to have to make a move pretty soon here if they want to build a cushion or kind of do this more definitively. But right now we're kind of in it. We're in this little trading pattern.
Aaron, can we go back to some of the earlier games today? And by the way, if you've gotten a trivia question, where was the first UPA credited national championships? I talked to the man who founded the UPA with his wife, Michelle Pizzoli, and some others in 1979. He was here today, of course, to cheer on his Condors team. That's Tom Kennedy. He actually considers, oh, here we go, former Horizer. That's Forner Horizer, at Forner Horizer tweeted Penn State.
Yeah?
And the winner being Glassboro, and that is correct. Dan Jacobson wanted to say the mall in DC, not correct. And I am being heckled for missing Padamash. Ouch.
I understood some of that.
Padamash is a fun tournament in Philadelphia. That's like a Halloween dress-up tournament that like Sean Mott and Dre DeSabato are going to semifinals, but could be playing mosh with myself. We are all missing it on our team. Fortunately, our team has about 52 people on it, so I think we'll be all right.
I think it's fine.
Antoine Davis will send this up. Tom Doy tries to get position.
There might be a discussion. That's press. Logan from the Madison area, one of the transplants this year from that now defunct Mad Club team. Been a pretty big impact player for this D-line so far.
Oh, that's a tough one
So
there.
sorry, tell me.
Kind of
I
with
felt that
Tom
I was
Doy
trying
on
to go
this
for the
one.
disc, and he was on my shoulder.
All right,
and
let's
on my
listen
head
in.
when I was trying to make
Okay.
a play for it.
Felt the same thing.
Okay.
Going for the disc.
Okay.
I just thought I was in front.
Okay, I got you. My ruling is there was contact from behind from you, so it is a foul. Okay, so we're going to stay here. We're going to stay where we are. Thank you. Okay,
Nail it.
so
He upheld the foul.
you're going to tap it down, and then we're live. Okay.
And then just
Okay.
walk it back to
Yes, sir. Okay.
Marcy, Marcy.
It is not easy being an observer. I'm always in awe that these observers can be so good at their jobs. It is not easy. And he got the perfect call. Cassidy Rasmussen skies for this one to keep possession. And Patience now will reward with the goal to Jordan Marcy.
Around a bidding Pangburn there. Nice step out and around.
Aaron, I was going to ask, some pretty exciting quarterfinals matchups.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Like, we're getting these tweets from you, not tweets, I'm sorry, on the group me, and it was crazy excitement with Sixers and Riot, Molly Brown and Schwa. Can you tell us a little bit about those games?
Well, sure. I watched all of them in person for a small amount of time. But, you know, that Molly Brown Schwa game looked like Schwa was running a little bit of a zone. We saw Ella Hansen, one throw Ella, sitting in the back as a deep, and made some of their kind of spicy huck looks not able to be thrown.
Okay.
You know, every once in a while, Pitt Caithley could get around and over and hit Schaffner, or, you know, they would kind of, you know, Chastain and Manu would work it through the middle or what have you. But I think in the end, Schwa was able to like get a lot of confidence because they got a lot of turns. And in particular, there was a layout D by Schwa on one of the kind of initial passes, if not the centering pass, the one right after that. And it was, you know, a huge momentum boost them, but it looked like a game of runs, and Schwa was able to kind of break back a number of times and ended up taking it on double game point. I really
Big upset there.
Yeah, the Riot Sixers game I didn't get to see as much of. Riot was in control for a long time, and then very suddenly they weren't. And I think that's one of those things about nationals that's so interesting, is if you get a little bit of a foothold, you take a mile, right? So kudos to the Sixers for closing out that win. That was a huge upset, and then we'll see Schwa and Sixers in that semifinal, and we'll have a new women's team in the final for the first time in a while. That's really exciting.
That is cool. Osgar drops it back down, so I will turn back to this game. Osgar, and has a reception here. On the goal line is Andrew Roy, and he'll, little scary moment, handshake, everyone's okay, Cousins gets up, and it's a goal. Aaron, okay?
Yeah.
Close, a little scary.
Cousins had ankle surgery maybe 2 off seasons ago, so
Yeah.
it makes me a little nervous when anybody gets hit in an area that has had surgery in the last few years.
Right.
It's just a little nerve-wracking there, but yeah, so luckily good landing there by Greg.
Yeah, he saw that the bid was in front of him, and he kind of his motion was coming back, and he alertly, Cousins did there, was able to kind of pull up his feet before getting rolled over on them.
Yeah. You know, if you want to go back to the
There's
other
Cousins.
If you want to go back to the other quarterfinals in the mixed division, Mischief was able to kind of take care of business over Columbus Cocktails. When I was watching that game, Mischief was doing a really good job of using their deep game to their women. And it was, kind of a off to the races situation. They went up on a kind of a 4-point run and then just kind of protected that lead for the rest of the game and extended it a little bit more in the second half. And I think everybody kind of was able to tune in, hopefully, to the Dragon mixtape game. Maybe not as close of a game as mixtape would have liked, but after Dragon's escape from pre-quarters, I think they felt better about having a couple-point lead in that game.
John Gross told me that the Dragon Throws coach, and this is a Galaxy point here, told me that they used their second-string D-line to start the mixtape game because they used so many points with their A-liners, with Schoenrock, Vonotka, and some of the other big bodies, Mextroff, of course, so often in that win that they had to fight over Slow White. And his second line on D played the whole first half and took an 8-5 lead on mixtape.
Yeah, they also broke to start the game, I think. What a deep team. Great to see that recovery, kind of. That's a nice throw.
Yeah, Sanchez there, Marcelo Sanchez laces that into Eli Kearns. Kearns, another winner in the mixed division to start his career off before coming over to Revolver. That will be half, as everything kind of on serve here, I believe, in this 5th place semi-play-in bracket for the Pro Champ division.
We talked a little bit about the Revolver machine game that I was over to see. And I think maybe what's notable about that, I know we talked with Andy Nielsen, the coach of Machine, a few days ago to kind of try to figure out if Machine was capable of kind of, peaking and living up to the potential with the fire personnel that they have. And maybe the sneak peek that I have about the Machine game was that, Joe White and Kurt Gibson looked like they were cut from the same cloth, right? They were throwing to each other on stall .5. They were in rhythm, and they missed on a couple, right? Joe tried to throw deep to Kurt, didn't quite work out. There was a little bit of a miscue in a handler set. But if they can be telepathic, I don't know what teams are going to do about that.
Okay, right, makes sense.
And a number of other Machine players definitely contributed and got layout Ds and kind of amazing grabs, but that was borderline terrifying.
Hey, stay with us for a bit. We're going to see if Emmy can get head coach for Revolver, Malika Anderson. And she's going to look over at that camera over there. Yep, we like that. So, yeah, I think she's got Malika Anderson. Malika Anderson, a first-year coach here. I'm going to point to Emmy, and we'll give her the go. And, Emmy, you're on.
Here with Revolver head coach Malika Anderson. Malika, we have had a first half with no breaks. Yeah. I'm sure you all are eager to kind of open up the doors a little bit. How do you do that?
We're definitely hungry. I think, we're coming off a tough loss against Machine, so it's okay to feel emotion, but we're all about a growth mindset on this team. So the defense is getting hungry now, doing what they need to do. I think we all rely on each other. They're a band of brothers, and so they're here to pick each other up. You're going to see some great defense in the second half.
What do you think is that real key? I mean, because that was a tough, close loss. And so how do you stay keyed in and motivate each other to finish it out?
I think the beautiful thing about this team is that we do have half of our roster is very new. So this is quite an experience just being at Nationals. And we have the excitement on the team from those kids are just great. They're not kids, they're men.
But newbies to the system.
Absolutely. And so it's like the veterans that are going to really help kind of drive us through, and the new kids that are men that are going to, that excitement's going to really pull us through.
Great. Well, good luck in the second half. Revolver currently leading Sub-Zero 8-7. Malika Anderson, head coach. Thanks.
Emmy.
Back to you.
Thanks, Emmy. That was great. Malika Anderson, I don't know if you saw this on camera, but one of her boys to men, 22-year-old Caleb Merriman, was dancing a little jig and distracting her There he is right there as she's trying to do the interview. So keeping it loose. And yeah, so that was what Malika was looking at as she's trying to talk to Emmy Fitzgerald down there. So kudos to Revolver, keeping it loose. Malika doing a great job with this team this year. Really amazing. We'll take a break, and we'll be back for the second half. Thanks for tuning in. That was great. That worked really well. I'm glad you got Malika, too. That's exactly that would be like the perfect person. So we did the point, and it all worked. I was just watching where you went, and when you went and grabbed her, I was like, okay, we're going to get there. Same thing, you know, you make eye contact with me, I'll radio down to Luke, and it's like, I see you grab someone, I'll look at me, I'll give you the thumbs up, and then, you know, just keep looking back, and if I give you the point, then you're on. Oh, we can do it. Yeah. What's up, Chuck? Not live right now, right? No, you want to come on? You want? I'm kind of taking a break. What are you? No, man. Revolver, 5 minutes. That's all. That's worth it. 5 minutes. Just throw it out if it lands fast. It doesn't matter anymore. That's the feedback, so she can hear the program. Most people don't like that. In 2 minutes, we're gonna do a top 10 on the stage. Okay. You want to get back on and intro it? Chuck, you got any insight for us? Yeah. One-third owner of the owner? All right. We'll just say he's retiring from it. From UNH? Yeah. Who's number 1 and Light Body? The professor. Light Body is good. I don't think she did. But at Yale. Jordan didn't know about her until I was like, you know, Ann Lightbody's there, and she's amazing. I played against her when she was on Stephanie Bond. Yeah. Yeah. She won Callahan, I believe. I don't know. I thought she did win the Callahan. She played for Lady Godiva, though. Okay. Okay. Who's number 1? Okay. That's funny. Yeah, Tony's in his headset. So we see this hot air balloon descending over the territory. If anyone can hit that with the disc, I'll get some extra credit. We're going to go to a top 10 plays of the day so far as we see this beautiful drone shot over the Surf Cup Sports Park here in Del Mar. Some beautiful action here, the light just setting. Let's look at some great plays put together by the Fulcrum team and Eddie Baller Chan.
Oh, I remember that.
That's the Tanner catch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the Jeff Babbitt, but that's a pretty awesome play by Tanner Johnson for sure.
The Babbitt catch was an interesting kind of, trying to think about this, like wrist rotation, an interesting grab. But I think what makes the Tanner catch maybe more difficult was just that he had to land from the initial jump before he could do anything else.
Just like Chuck Cleary predicted, the light here, mentioned the light here was pretty awesome. Babbitt, yeah, he did flip his wrist over. And
He caught it between his third and fourth finger on that. Okay,
well,
Jeff, I see you.
That might have, so I saw him after the game, and he might have either tore a ligament or dislocated his knuckle. And it
On
might have
that
happened.
catch?
It might have happened on that catch.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize when it had happened, but he was on ice after that comeback win there. So hoping the best for Jeff Babbitt. And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. But he's he got beat up a little bit.
Hand injuries are really hard. I mean, we saw Simon Higgins earlier in this game catch a score with his bound up right hand.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, you don't have the mobility that you normally do. It doesn't even feel like your own hand. Dragon Thrust has a player, Marty Adams, who broke a finger in a weird place as well. And I don't know if anybody noticed in that live stream, but he's wearing one glove, and he's wearing a glove so that he can have padding in there because it's still not healed all the way, but he wanted to play through it. Hand injuries are sometimes the worst.
In history, of course, Mike Grant had an injury to his throwing hand, his right hand, that it was dislocated surgery, something of that sort, out of commission. That was almost D'd up there.
Yeah, there was an audible gasp from this sideline.
Andrew Moore there, tracking that down on defense.
We good?
But Simonelli has it.
Okay,
He's got good hands.
Cutters, we good?
And of course, Mike Grant, the Furious George legend, maybe Hall of Famer one day, probably pretty close on that vote. Switched to playing with his left hand and then won a world championship with it.
Wow.
Osgar, this is where you normally hear the sidelines call shooter. But Jason Cheetah now with the reset. Now Oscar again. Simonelli's going to break, and he's going to put it. That's kind of dialed in. More there. Will go up high and force Simonelli to go, but Simonelli, no. He's down. He might have pulled something going up. Hope he's okay. He seemed to kind of tumble down unexpectedly. Seems like a foul call.
We're going to get another look at it. That happened real fast there.
Don't really see a whole lot of contact there.
There might have been a little bit of a foot tangle. I think we were all focused on their hands and their jumping, and maybe not on the lower extremities. But a foul is being called, and I think we can hear the observer still.
It's Rusty over there. Observer.
So he contests. Are either of you coming with me, or are we sending it back on the contest?
Okay.
Okay, send him back.
And
contested. Okay, the result is contested. Coming back to the thrower. Do we have a count?
So they've agreed to send it back. Another cool thing with our sport is that, again, as I mentioned in an earlier broadcast, it doesn't have to be black or white, because black and white's a false dichotomy anyway. I mean, we don't know the answer on that foul. Like, yeah, he might have got him in the feet at the same time he went up. Yeah, maybe not. So, you know what? Let's do it again. Cheetah. Up to Osgar. There's a chance to do it again. Looking for Cousins. Sorry, Weinberg. Weinberg with it. Weinberg will put it to Cousins. There it is. Nicely done. Connection looks good.
Cousins out of Tulane, and prior to that, Hopkins High School. Just gonna be a little proud coach for a minute, and then I'll stop.
It's going. You earned it.
You know, a lot of these cutters on Sub-Zero are just so naturally athletic, but then also the schedule and the fitness training for Sub-Zero is very rigorous. Captain Nick Simonelli is a professional physical trainer. And so a lot of the players on Sub-Zero kind of benefit from his understanding of mobility and strength and all of those things. But it is also, to a certain extent, it sounds exhausting to me, but they really enjoy kind of the grind. They work really hard, and I think their defense in particular benefits from that. But you can see that work that they put in all season in kind of those breakaway moments like we just saw with Greg, where, you know, he was even with his defender as that disc went up, and then he accelerated and built himself a cushion to go on and catch that on the back cone.
Conditioning, yay or nay? Doing a snap poll, please tweet at Leo Basque. And because Aaron doesn't have a phone, I'll have to heckle Emmy Fitz on this one. Cassidy Rasmussen splits the defenders to Antoine Davis, but he has nothing much downfield. Back to Rasmussen. Justin Lim circling. Rasmussen puts it deep. It's spread away for Tom Doy. All he has to do is go up, and he does. High points it over Kevin Petlet Scanling, but Doy is down.
We're going to have to see that again and see how this landing went down here.
Kind of got a little bit clipped in the legs by Kevin Petlet Scanning, KPS they call him. No intention there at all, of course. Great play by Doy. A bid from KPS is late. Doy really just got position there, and we hope he's all right.
Now that's the second time we've seen Revolver huck into space where 2 orange jerseys and 1 white jersey were the only ones present, and Revolver's come down with it twice. So, you know, when you talk to your defense on, especially against a team that is a talented huck team, you often tell defenders to kind of go help, right? Peel off your own person, head down there, see if we can kind of, you know, play team air battle. But Revolver so far winning those battles.
Tom Doy, of course, another member of a Team USA coalition. Some thought he was a surprise choice, but he is a guy that just kind of does everything right. He's kind of like the Chris Kocher. Veteran presence, played a lot of years with Truck Stop in DC. It's always been a solid player, and as you saw there, can get up. Into the sun is this pull. That's tracked down and then centered Jason Cheetah.
Tony Paletto often fields these pulls, and his little jazz hands are kind of his signature.
Cousins will reverse it to Weinberg, but he can't get it.
You know that the angle of the sun right now is behind us, and so I can't tell if it's really a factor, but definitely looking into it right now is going to be straight on into your eyes. May affect some other points over in that corner of the end zone.
The shimmy from Ashlyn Joy got that break off, and now they're running deep. A nice shot here from Revolver and a layout grab. Fantastic.
Can I say it? Can I say it, Tony?
Sure.
Play of the game.
I think that's Nick Tolfa over there with the huge layout after that throw from Sawyer Thompson. Wow, that looked fantabulous, and that's a break.
It is, and I think that's one of the maybe more powerful reasons that is the play of the game is, you know, that's exceptional. That's a, you know, pinpoint catch there at a high level, but it's also, you know, important in this game where there are so few breaks. Both of these O-lines very stingy, so you need to catch those, and that one was close.
Sorry to Nick Murphy. Murphy with that grab there and the play of the game, but Nick Murphy, not Nick Tolfa, and that was fabulous. Well, what do you follow that with? Well, we could go back to talking about history of another national championships.
I don't know. I'm pleased that this is yet again another close game.
Yeah.
Right? Another evenly matched team. A lot of pressure on both ends of the disc. You know, clearly some thought from each of these teams. And right now, you know, and high season expectations dashed a bit, but you got to make the most of it. And I'm pretty pleased with the effort on both sides of the disc right now. Nobody's ready to kind of call it in.
Well, you know, for Revolver, again, not a surprise that they were eliminated in quarterfinals, but it is the first time since that 2010 game against GOAT that they have not made it to the semifinals. And that is a beautiful put there. Osgar looking for his man, Nick Vogt. Dials it up.
Vogt played for still U24. Sometimes that's a line, right? I'm not sure where these players graduate from college, but Vogt plays for the University of Madison for Becky Ludani, head coach, right?
Yep.
So I always think it's fun, and one of these other elements of Spirit that maybe we don't talk a lot about, but part of Spirit is understanding that your current rivals may one day be your teammates, and trying to figure out I mean, we have an advantage in Ultimate a little bit over other sports because you can.
Is that
playing.
that Josh Klein right there?
That is Josh Klein, who's
with the armband.
Yeah, he separated his shoulder yesterday, as we mentioned.
Well, shout out to Josh Klein there, one of the key members of this team there. Sorry to be missed, but he looks like he's got some smiles on his face there on the sideline, at least, showing off his range, wearing the, I don't know what that rain jacket is.
I think it's just so that the ice on his shoulder doesn't give him frostbite.
Yeah, now I see.
As on brand as that would be, because that would be frosty, and that's one of the Sub-Zero taglines. I think that's probably a smart move there by Klein.
Thank you, Gabe Port, for that shot with the camera. And now Revolver again with the 1-break lead. We'll move it down the field. Had Marcelo Sanchez open deep, but now finds him under. Nice move from Sanchez. Now Rasmussen trying to eat some yardage up, but has to come a little bit under. Rasmussen will put it deep to Antoine Davis. A peel off from Sub-Zero is not in time to the speedy Davis as he rises up to collect it. Colin Berry there trying to make an attempt, but not going to catch Antoine Davis in open space.
No, that would be very, very difficult. I was going to say a little earlier, I think so far in this game, we've seen a lot of really good pulls. And I know, especially for young players looking to improve their pulls, sometimes kind of watching someone else do it well is really informative and helpful. Another player who's excellent at pulling is Robin Fennig. I think Erica Bacon had a really nice pull in the Dragon game that we watched here. But, you know, Cody Wood and Thomas Eccles have both had really nice pulls for Sub-Zero. And then, gosh, I'm going to forget this name. Who is the left-handed gentleman who had the nice pull from here to here maybe 3 points ago? Anyway, you can rewind if you want to at home. But so far, a lot of kind of
Sawyer Thompson, maybe?
Maybe. I'm sorry. I didn't note his number
You
when
did
he threw
say he
it.
was a gentleman, so that's a
Oh,
that's a
okay.
hint. Let's see. That's a tip. Let's see who's a gentleman.
I noticed that he was left-handed and that he had a nice pull. And, you know, especially for lefties, sometimes that kind of footage isn't available because the percentage of righties in our sport is pretty high. So, you know, for a young left-handed person out there who's looking to become a better puller, that was a good example, and it was a little while ago.
That pull there from Ashlyn Joy. Again, curious to see him on the D line. But why not give some reps to some of the other younger players on the O-line as Oscar laces this one in. Popped over the top to Weinberg, up to Simonelli. Simonelli looking to find his man, but it's Deed up instead. He was looking for Oscar, but the stout defense there from number 5, Danny Meeson on Revolver is on time.
These have all been quite close. But Sub-Zero has had 3 opportunities at the end zone that this O-line hasn't converted. One, an uncharacteristic drop from Greg Cousins. Another one, an uncharacteristic drop from Charles Weinberg. And then that was a nice D from Revolver. But, Ryan Oscar has gotten maybe more difficult catches than that one in traffic in the past. So maybe that might be the difference in the game right now, are those 3 plays.
Kanao Chun Moy moves it up to Nick Tolfa, to Moore. Moore to Sawyer Thompson. Sawyer Thompson, there it is, the lefty, up the line to Kanoa Chun Moy for the goal and a break for Revolver. That's a great way to get your team on a rebuilding streak. Is started off right here in the back door, play-in bracket for the Pro Flight Championship.
Yeah, Revolver putting together a little bit of a run here to make it 12-9. As we've seen kind of all over the place this weekend, though, Ultimate definitely can be a game of runs. And any team can beat any other team on any given day. Certainly not out of reach for Sub-Zero at all yet, but the first step is always a clean hold.
There's head coach Malika Anderson, of course, a trainer with this team. They lost their head coach, Mike Payne, a couple years ago, moving to Portland. He kind of helped as a little mentor to that Portland Rhino Slam team we saw earlier on the stream. And then last year, a different head coach. And the success they had was pretty good, but they weren't able to get past Pony in the finals. And Malika Anderson is the new coach of this team here. Kind of a twist, I think, coming out of a position as being a trainer for the team, a masseuse, a trainer, a massage. And, the talk was, at least the article I was reading, that she was just so bright and sort of aware of the team and sort of focused into it and kind of knew what was best for the team and kept learning more and more about the sport and the team till she became kind of an expert on it. And when they came time to choose a coach, that would just seem like a natural fit. And that's a really excellent crossover and really unique, I feel, in our sport to have someone who's not been a player to come over and be a coach.
That is interesting, and I admit I don't know as much about that as maybe I should. More and more, I think we're seeing women in head coaching positions, even in the men's division, which has not been the case in past years. But notably, Miranda Roth was here with Chain.
Yeah.
I saw her over on one of the far fields, and I think it's really good for everybody when that happens, and certainly more and more women are being given that opportunity, and I hope that trend continues.
Tristan Vandemortelli to Ryan Osgar. Aaron, is it Vandemortelli or Vandemortel?
It's Vandemortel.
Okay.
French.
Vandemortel. Oh, it's French.
Yeah.
Probably Belgian.
No, it's French. Tristan's an exchange student.
Oh.
Is my understanding. Maybe I'm making that up. I'm making that up. No, it is a French name, though. So we'll see a Cody Wood pull. He had a nice one a few points ago. This looks like the D-line that started the game. Connor Anderson, Jordan Taylor, who went to UNH.
The second best player from UNH is what we've been told in the history of that program.
Right. You got Josh
Chuck Cleary
Katz.
told us that, so take it with a grain of salt.
And then, yeah, a pretty strong grade up contingent, 5 on this line alone.
Well, Coach Tallis Boyd, of course, took them to a championship and now coaching Sub-Zero. His first year coaching this team, that's right, yes?
Yes.
Higgins. Looking for a reset now as the count getting up a little high. He has to move it up to Eli Kearns.
He's holding that disc really strangely because of the wrapping. I think he feels comfortable throwing a backhand, because he's keeping his normal pivot foot, but it looked like he really wasn't ready to throw a flick pass. Well, so Jordan Taylor in traffic there, getting a hand on it, and Sub-Zero will take over possession.
Great run by Jordan Taylor. Cassidy Rasmussen tried to get him out of his shorts and ran a hot cut there up the line, and Taylor stuck with him the whole way and got rewarded by getting a piece of that disc. Kearns almost picked, but this is unfortunately going to go to no one. A little too quick of a trigger on the release from Cody Wood, and Kearns will send this one to the defense. So getting a little sloppy here on this point as Logan Pruis makes that easy. D in the end zone.
It can be hard to finish a game out in the last little dregs of the game. Both of these teams, you know, have had a really hot, rough day. And, you know, day 2 of play here certainly takes a toll on the body. I feel like it was only a matter of time, really, until we saw a little bit of that manifest in the game.
Surprised we hadn't had some less than precise points earlier. A chance of redemption for Cody Wood, but he makes the smart choice here to Taylor. And now here's a huck opportunity, but not taken. Again, probably wise. Dropped instead down to Connor Anderson. Over to Tristan Van Du Mortel, who turfs this. That's down.
Yeah, it is. A couple of these flick looks just not coming out, I think, the way that they're expected. Maybe a little bit of a focus issue. Could be a kind of a sweat issue in some of these grips, but that's 2 passes that kind of dropped aggressively towards the turf in the last few.
Line here now to Kearns, and Scuber is caught.
That's 2 Scuber assists for Revolver as well, if I remember correctly. 2 of the maybe most direct Scubers I've seen all weekend. We've mostly seen kind of high, floaty, fluttery Scubers, and these 2 from Revolver were super direct right into the breadbasket on both accounts. Oh, someone got a piece of that one.
Oh yeah? I would explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
This one we just saw, and now we're gonna see Kearns going up to Adam Reese. And a nice one-handed catch there, as Revolver now with a commanding late 13-10 lead. As their rebuilding is looking pretty good as the avocado continues to ripen. Hopefully in 2020 we'll see the results.
It's like a couple other Revolvers have kind of taken off their shoes. Also noticed that Cole Jurek had taken off his cleats. Unfortunate that players are, you know, running out of steam here, but probably not necessary at this point to risk injury, certainly in this bracket.
I'm curious, I think this is the game where everyone really should be in, and there's certainly some Sub-Zero names that we haven't called too much.
Hard to say from the outside of any team how decisions are made. And line calling is as a coach, I think line calling is my least favorite element of coaching at all. It's difficult, certainly, to figure out who needs to be on the field at any given time. And in tough situations or kind of long day, tired situations, sometimes you kind of go to the wheelhouse and send out your O-line just because it's less work to think of a new line. Oh, nicely.
Wow, tipped up though. Simonelli tracks it down for the score. Nice D from Sawyer Thompson, but not nice enough as that Oscar short arm throw is tipped mercifully in the air for him and brought down by Captain Simonelli.
Oh.
If he only caught it, Aaron.
I know. I was trying not to go there. I realized that we've talked about that a lot this weekend.
It's fun to talk about.
Yeah, someone, I can't remember who, but somebody came up and talked to me about it when I was down roving around. And, you know, I think the takeaway on this weekend is that it's not an either or. It's not one thing or the other, and neither is going to be true 100% of the time. There are definitely situations where it's to your advantage to catch it. Absolutely. There are also some situations that we have seen over the course of the weekend where it doesn't play out well to do so. And the nice thing about this level of play is that each of these players should kind of inherently understand those situations and have kind of made a choice internally about what rule they're going to adhere to the most. But sometimes just unfortunate things happen, or you can't really get a hand on it. And I don't know if that was catchable by that defender. He had leapt in the air. It was an awkward angle, and that is right where the sun comes right into your eyes right now. So, you know, just might be kind of one of those things that happens at the end of the day. Enough of a breeze to help that out too on the float to Simonelli.
Did you ever put pine tar on your hands? Or like sticky, you know, like some players like to talc. Like I would, for instance, if I'm out in the line, I will pick up a patch of dirt. Here's a nice zip throw in there for a goal and a hold from Revolver. But just to make sure that my hands have some traction, instead of gloves, I'll get my hands kind of from all the sweat and stuff. I'll use dirt on the ground and rub it in a little bit.
I think it's every player's preference. I tried gloves for a while. I apparently have small hands, and so there was extra fabric near the end of my fingers, and that didn't help with throwing. So it wasn't a good solution for me. Gloves also like retain sweat, so either you have to have multiples in your bag, or you have to kind of take them off and put them back on, and take them off again and put them back on.
Simon Higgins doing the shiboogie.
Yeah. They're having a good time. I feel like they feel like they're close to closing this out, and are being patient about it, right, and methodical. But
great throw from Sanchez. We're looking at Sanchez right there. One of the leaders of this team has been there, done that, won a number of championships.
Yeah, but talc or climbing chalk.
Yeah, climbing chalk
are good solutions too. I haven't ever heard of anybody using pine tar. I think that's a.
I think that's a
baseball thing.
No, it is, but I remember early back in the day, like having a player, John Garb, I believe it was actually, like, you know what, you can go up to this pine tree over here and grab like a stick off there and get some stickiness on your hand.
Interesting.
You don't want to get the actual tar, but some of the leaves can give off some of the pininess, and actually, it kind of works, but don't do that too often.
As we watch this Sub-Zero O-line near the end zone, just a quick reminder that this coverage and the 2019 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate. They provide Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. If you'd like to visit their website, it's vcultimate.com. Happy to have them as a partner at events like these.
You know, tomorrow we'll look for Mira Mesa High School will be the location for the semis and finals, just like they were last year. So make sure to tune in. Some of those games will, of course, be on ESPN as a goal here on a hold from Sub-Zero. That is Tony Paletto throwing that one.
To Greg Cousins. We are approaching the soft cap as well. That'll go off in about 5 minutes. And then there's 20 minutes kind of available left in the round. If Sub-Zero would like to push this and get a couple of breaks.
It's optional.
It's optional. They
don't have to.
They have the time. They have the time to close this gap. I think if they would like to, the cap is not going to change
They're going to call a timeout to talk about it
at all. Yeah, they are going to take a timeout to talk about it. Yeah, certainly. You know, there are stakes to this game, right? This is an opportunity to get to the game or get to the pro flight, right? Is this the actual play-in game or the play-in game to the play-in game?
It's playing game.
This is the play-in game. Okay. So yeah, so the winner will retain their pro flight status and get invited to some of these Triple Crown Tour events. It is kind of a coveted position by a lot of teams because that means that you get to play against higher level teams earlier in the season. We've talked with a couple of teams that have maybe more recently formed, and a new team enters up through the classic flight, and if they finish well enough and are able to kind of get into some of the higher level events, you can get into, I think the next is the select flight, and then after that there's top select, elite select,
sirloin.
You're right. Anyway, it's a tiered system, but the best competition and the best way to test your team to get ready for the season or to get your individual personnel improved can sometimes be to play the highest level ultimate that you can find. And right now in the Triple Crown Tour format, a lot of those games are kind of invite only. And so that's what these two teams are playing for right now, is the privilege to continue to have those matchups.
Thank you, Aaron. Well said.
That pull is from Christian Johnson, KJ.
Good to see him out there. Haven't called his name yet. Adam Reese with the disc. I believe he played his time at Oregon. Antoine Davis will send this. This could be the end of the game here. It's reeled in, and it is. The D is a little late, and the goal by Hunter Corbett, and that will put an end to this one. Corbett gets a big hug from his partner in crime, Simon Higgins over there, and San Francisco Revolver will move on to the 5-6 game and be eligible for the Pro Flight Championship next year. That's a good affirmation of the team's values and commitment to quality that has kept them in contention for all of these years, and we'll see them again in 2020.
On behalf of Tony, I just want to say thanks for tuning in today, especially in after that really exciting round. Stick around here for this play-in game. We certainly appreciate it. A lot of good ultimate going on this weekend, and plenty more to come.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll bring one more live stream game for you tomorrow. We believe it is going to be a women's semi. I'm not entirely sure which women's semi that will be, but it will be awesome. Again, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a little package of some highlights here produced by Fulcrum. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for tomorrow, Saturday, where the action continues here from San Diego at the
2019 USA Club Championship.
Woo!
We did it.